You had everything you needed today: your phone, your shows, your plans, food you wanted, people you chose, things to do. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, you felt nothing. Not sad, not anxious, just empty. Like you were present for your own life and somehow missed it entirely. So you reached for something else. Another video, another scroll, another distraction you didn't really want. And that one didn't fill it either. Here is what nobody tells you about that feeling. It is not boredom. It is a signal. And Schopenhauer, 200 years before the algorithm existed, already knew exactly what it meant, and exactly why you cannot escape it, no matter how much you consume. Before talking about why this happens, I want you to know something you can use today, because understanding the problem without a way through it is just another thing to feel bad about. Schopenhauer spent his life studying this exact hunger, and he left 3 practices inside his writing that most people never find. Not because they are hidden, because they are too simple to take seriously, until you try them. The first practice: name the pendulum. The next time you reach for your phone without deciding to, pause. Just 3 seconds. Say to yourself, not out loud, just internally, the pendulum is swinging. Not as judgment, not as shame, as observation. You are watching something move in you before your mind caught up to it. That 3-second gap between impulse and action is the only place where freedom lives. You will not always choose differently, but you will begin to see the mechanism. And seeing the mechanism is the beginning of everything. The second practice: sit with the hollow. The next time you feel that empty feeling, do not fill it immediately. Sit with it for 5 minutes, not to suffer, not to punish yourself, to get to know it. Because that hollow feeling is not emptiness, it is the pendulum at rest. And the pendulum at rest is the closest thing to peace that Schopenhauer believed was available to a human being. Not happiness, not fulfillment, just stillness. 5 minutes of that is worth more than 5 hours of filling. The third practice: 1 hour of nothing weekly. Not meditation, not journaling, not a walk with a podcast. 1 hour, no input, no output, just existence. It will feel unbearable at first. Your mind will generate 10 urgent reasons to stop. Let them pass. Because what you are doing in that hour is not wasting time. You are starving the pendulum, and a pendulum that slows is a life that opens. Try these today, then come back and listen to why they work. Now, why do these 3 practices actually work? Schopenhauer knew something about the mechanism underneath your boredom. He described human life as a pendulum. On one side, desire. You want something, you chase it, you need it. The wanting itself is a kind of suffering, a tension that pulls you forward whether you choose it or not. Then you get what you wanted. The tension releases, and for a moment, just a moment, there is peace. But the pendulum does not stop there. It swings to the other side. And on the other side is boredom, the absence of desire. The hollow feeling after the wanting is gone. And boredom, Schopenhauer said, is not rest. It is its own form of suffering, a different kind of pain, the pain of being left alone with yourself, with nothing to want. So the mind does the only thing it knows how to do. It manufactures a new desire, a new thing to want, a new thing to chase, and the pendulum swings back. Desire again, suffering again, chase again, get it again. Peace for a moment, then hollow, then boredom, then desire, back and forth. Your entire life, between the pain of wanting and the emptiness of having. Now look at your phone, not as a device, as a pendulum machine, perfectly engineered to keep you swinging. The moment desire fades, a notification appears. The moment satisfaction arrives, the feed refreshes. The moment stillness threatens, autoplay begins. The algorithm does not want you satisfied. A satisfied person stops scrolling. The algorithm wants you on the pendulum, swinging, always swinging, because a swinging person keeps watching. Schopenhauer did not know about smartphones, but he knew about the hunger they would feed, and he knew something else, something that changes everything. Most people hear the pendulum theory and think, I just need better desires. I need to want the right things. I need to fill my time with meaningful content, quality over quantity, intention over impulse, and they are still on the pendulum. Just a more sophisticated pendulum, because Schopenhauer was not saying your desires are wrong. He was saying desire itself is the mechanism of suffering. Not bad desire, not shallow desire. Desire, the hunger itself. And this is where he said something that sounds like despair, but is actually the most liberating thing you will ever hear. The only way to escape the pendulum is not to find better things to want. It is to want less. Not to consume better. To consume less. Not to fill the silence with something more meaningful. To sit in the silence. And let it be silence. Because the silence is not the enemy. The silence is the only place the pendulum stops. I want to ask you something, and I want you to actually answer it, not out loud, but in the comments, just right now, in whatever room you are sitting in. When did you last do nothing? Not meditate, not journal, not optimize your morning, nothing. Just existed, without producing or consuming or performing or planning. If you cannot remember, that is the answer. That is exactly what Schopenhauer was pointing at. Others saw the pendulum too, but they drew the wrong conclusion. The Stoics understood part of this. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the things pulling you outward only have power if you grant them power. Control your reaction, choose your response, discipline the mind. And for 2,000 years, people have tried exactly that. And they are still on the pendulum. Because Marcus was solving the wrong problem. He was teaching you how to hold the rope. Schopenhauer was asking why you picked it up. Buddhism came closer. Tanha, craving, thirst. The teaching that suffering is not caused by what happens to you. It is caused by your relationship to wanting. That is almost it. Almost. Because Buddhism offers a path out of craving, a practice, a discipline, an arrival. Schopenhauer offered something darker and more honest. He said there is no arrival. The will does not dissolve. It does not enlighten. It does not reward your practice with peace. It just keeps moving. And the only thing that changes is whether you can see it moving. That is the difference. Not a path out, a pair of eyes. Think about the last time you were truly still. No phone, no sound, no input of any kind. How long did it take before you reached for something? 10 minutes? 5 minutes? Less? Most people cannot sit with themselves for 3 minutes without filling the silence. And we have built an entire civilization around that fact. Streaming platforms, notification systems, infinite scroll. All of it designed for one purpose, to stand between you and the silence. Because someone discovered, long before any of us were born, that the silence is unbearable, and that whoever controls what fills it, controls everything. Schopenhauer saw this coming, not the technology, but the hunger underneath it, the hunger that technology would one day learn to feed. He called it the will, not your will, not a decision, the will. The blind, restless force underneath all human behavior, the thing that makes you reach before you even decide to reach. The thing that was already moving your thumb before your mind caught up. And he said something that should stop you completely. The will is insatiable. It cannot be filled. Not by more content, not by better content, not by the right relationship or the right career or the right morning routine. The will does not want satisfaction. It wants wanting. Go back to that moment, the one where you had everything you needed and still felt empty. Now you know what that was. That was not a failure of your life. That was the pendulum reaching the end of its swing. That was the will running out of things to want for just long enough to show you what was underneath. And underneath, beneath the wanting and the consuming and the filling, there is something that does not swing. Something that has been there the whole time. Waiting, not for a better desire, not for a more meaningful distraction, just for you to stop moving long enough to feel it. Schopenhauer did not promise happiness. He never lied to you about that. But he promised something rarer. Clarity. The moment you see the pendulum, you are no longer entirely at its mercy. You are still human. You will still want. You will still reach. But now there will be a part of you that watches, that knows, that can sometimes, not always, but sometimes, choose the stillness instead. And that choice, made once, then again, is not the end of suffering. It is the beginning of something Schopenhauer called the only honest peace available to us. Not the peace of getting what you want, the peace of wanting less. The pendulum will always swing, but you do not have to be the pendulum. If this landed somewhere real, drop one word in the comments. Just one word for what you feel when the pendulum reaches the end of its swing. I read everyone. And if you want to keep going deeper into the questions that actually change how you live, subscribe. Not for content, for the practice of slowing down. Next week upload. Nietzsche knew something about the life you keep postponing, and why the waiting itself is the mistake.